My girlfriend cheated on me with the guy in the next room while I was forced to sit there and listen. So I got her arrested, made her lose her job, and got all of her friends to abandon her. Here's how it happened. Subscribe to Am I the Jerk on YouTube and hit the bell to turn on notifications. Here's the background. Me and my ex had been together just about a year and had decided to move in together for this most recent semester of university when we began to have a lot of fights and were on rocky terms for a little while. In this time, she would take advantage of my insecurities and my kindness just so she would get more attention while not giving any back to me. Most of our conversations at this point were apologetic or were trying to fix these problems, or at least I thought. Whenever I tried to talk to her in person, she would get hyper defensive and too emotional to deal with the facts that I was telling her. Thus, she would leave and message me over Discord and Snapchat saying these horrible things to me only meant to tear me down and adding in a few maybe we should break ups for good measure. One night I had enough and said that it would be best to take a break and try to figure it out from a third person perspective what was wrong in our relationship. Not 2 days later, she brought someone else over to our apartment to do. This decimated me, leading me to have a mental and emotional breakdown while they were doing the deed in the other room. I had mutual friends get me out of our place for the night where I explained the situation to them. They hated her for what she had done to me, and all of them cut contact with her right on the spot, which I later found out was a major hit to her ego. But that is not even the best part. Then the guy that she banged came to me and apologized for what had happened. He explained he felt bad for what he did and that he was told we had been separated for 2 weeks and was doing that the whole time, and that her wanting to do him was the reason for her last breakup before me. And he came to tell me because now she's going to go do his friend. Of course, rage ensues, but for some reason not towards him. But a plan did pop into my head. College student apartments, at least around here, all sign in mid-February, and I took my chance. I gathered a group of 4 of her once friends and we all signed the lease together, kicking her out of the apartment entirely. She has until the end of the month to find somewhere else to live. So I got out of this toxic relationship with all of her friends and I kicked her out of her own apartment. So I hope that eggplant tasted nice. This was all from my last post about 2 weeks ago. After getting her off the lease, she tried to get a replacement for the time she still had here, subleasing for her room in the apartment, which is strictly not allowed in the contract we signed at the beginning of last year. By this point, she had gone full psycho, threatening people in our apartment, including herself, to the point where a roommate called for a wellness check on her, mentally abusing the other roommates, and all around it was horrible. So I went to the landlady to get some information on what she could do next, where I got some information about what she had to do to get out of the apartment and away from what she had done to me. So I leave these papers saying that she legally can't sublet and suffer legal consequences if she does. She loses it completely and begins to yell at me for intruding in her life and ruining everything, even though she was the one that did it to herself. This escalates to her yelling at me about an inch from my face, to which I stand up to get her away from me, and she strikes me. She slugs me in the face with so much anger, and that was the last straw. I built up the courage and went to the police and filed a report with a witness, and they, without me knowing until afterwards, arrested her on the spot. She's been charged with battery and now forced into a psychiatric ward for mental health monitoring. The police then allowed me to fill out a protection order / restraining order against her, giving me the grounds to forcefully evict her from the apartment complex and notify her employer of what happened, leading her to get fired the next day. She is the only person who I can safely say is dead to me. And if you ever read this, Brooke, I hope you burn in hell. So, am I the jerk? This is really sad that somebody would have to go through this and experience how horrible this would be. It sounds like his intentions were in the right place when he wanted to have this little break for a separation, but it didn't sound like he wanted the break to be something for them both to go hook up with other people. The way that he described it made it sound like he just wanted some space to think for a second, but she obviously didn't see it that way, and she took the opportunity to get with this other guy in the same apartment in the next room over. That is low. Talk about no respect whatsoever. She had to have known that he was there, and then later on, the guy comes to the original poster and apologizes to him and says that she lied about everything. I mean, you would think that after all this was uncovered, she would at least see that she was the one that was in the wrong here, but yet later on, she's the one who slugs him. So up to this point, he's just taking it until eventually he goes to the police and she's finally accountable for her actions here. I feel bad for this guy, but I know in a lot of situations like this, where the cheating is that extreme, the people involved don't always fully recover. I wouldn't be surprised if this guy had some major trust issues in the future and had some sort of dark cloud hanging over his head for a long time whenever it comes to thinking about relationships or the past, this one specifically. So let me know if you've ever known someone like this ex-girlfriend here, and if so, what were they like? And of course, jerk or not a jerk, and why? Am I the jerk for bringing my girlfriend on a date to my daughter's workplace? I'm a 51-year-old male and I've been dating my girlfriend Millie for just over 6 months. My wife died 4 years ago and this is my longest relationship since. However, my daughter Bianca, who's 21, disapproves. She has a lot of issues with me and Millie, but the main ones are the way that we met, through a website, and that I moved Millie into our house fairly quickly after 3 months. In my defense, losing my wife much earlier than I had ever imagined really taught me to seize and enjoy each moment, and it just felt right to both of us to have Millie there with me permanently. 2 months ago, Bianca and Millie got into a dispute over our spare room, which Bianca uses as a music space, but Millie wanted to convert into a shooting space for social media, which is her job. I took Millie's side since she's going to be here longer term, so Bianca sped up her plans to move out to the next week and asked that I warn her if Millie's going to be present at any event or visit. Anyway, last week I thought it would be nice to treat Millie for her birthday, and she asked for a shopping trip and dinner out, which I was happy to do. The issue is she specifically asked to go to a restaurant where Bianca works as a waitress, since it's known as one of the most exclusive and classy places in our town. I knew Bianca was working that day, but figured it would be alright since it's a large restaurant and a special occasion. When we arrived, we were given another server, so I thought everything was okay. About 15 minutes later, Bianca walked out from the kitchen and immediately saw us sitting there, then walked straight back without even saying hi. She kept passing the table and silently glaring daggers at Millie, which was just unnecessary when Millie tried to be polite. Millie then asked Bianca for the bill because she was the nearest waitress, and Bianca slapped it down on the table wordlessly and then sent another waitress to see us out. Later, I called her and asked her why she had behaved like a child. Bianca said that me and Millie had deliberately flirting to upset her, which is untrue. The most that happened was a couple of kisses and a bit of footsie/giggling. Bianca also claims that when I briefly left to use the toilet, Millie called her over and told her not to contact me for the next few days as we would be too busy engaging in private activities. I find it hard to believe Bianca because Millie has made an effort to bond with her through organizing girly activities among other things, while Bianca has a history of manipulating others to get her way. Bianca then told me she wants no contact with Millie or me apart from at family gatherings. My family is split over the issue. My ex-wife's sister called to cuss me out for neglecting Bianca, who is still grieving her mother. I understand that Bianca and Millie have their issues and Bianca misses her mother, but Bianca was at work and I thought she would have been more professional. And for the record, Millie is 28 years old, 7 years older than Bianca and 22 years younger than me. Am I the jerk? Before you decide, there's actually an update from Bianca. Apparently, Bianca found the post and wanted to give her side of things by saying, "Hey everyone, this is Bianca talking. After I saw the thread made with my dad's post, my roommate encouraged me to make an account and at least try to defend myself. I hope at least some of you hear me out and hear what I have to say. What my dad says has grains of truth, but it is so far from the full story, it's basically nonsense. My mom did die when I was 17, and me and my dad were actually very close. He started dating again a couple years after she died, and I was always very supportive until Millie came along. Regardless of what dad says, me and Millie had an emotional relationship lasting several months, which ended in a massive bust up and us losing contacts, and he was aware of this when I told him I recognized her. He brushed it aside and told me I would get used to it, and we would be introduced gradually. I was stupid and I believed this. He moved her into the house without asking me while I was visiting my mom's family for the week. She did not try to bond with me. She used our shopping days and trips as an excuse to get money off my dad for herself. She cried and begged until dad got rid of my music room and he fell for it. I asked them not to be intimate when I was around because I was uncomfortable. They ignored me. Millie and dad have since tried to contact me regularly and have shown up in unexpected places. They showed up in my church. They apparently visited my work and asked my friends if I'm there. They have even tried messaging me to ask when I'm visiting my mom's grave and if I want them to join. They are despicable people who deserve to be cut off. I would love to hear dad's explanation of why I'm manipulative. Until then, don't believe anything he said. Other than that stuff about liking young women, that's probably true. Which that part specifically actually seems to be removed, but a few other people quoted pieces of that, and one part of it says, "But let's be honest here and just admit that a 28-year-old woman is more attractive and lively than a 50-year-old woman. She keeps me young." The person that reposted that added, "Would you say this about your late wife? Would you say that to your late wife? Would you say that to your late wife's Facebook face using those words? That she only mattered to you if she was attractive and lively and nothing past that? If so, I feel sorry for your late wife and child who deserve better than you. It's not often we actually get to see two sides of a story all at the same time. Usually it's just one person's perspective that is inherently laced with at least some bias. But in this case, seeing both sides paints a more accurate picture of what was going on. Just based on how everything was written, I tend to lean more towards believing Bianca here because it just makes more sense. The way that the dad described a lot of this stuff just kind of seems like there's no explanation. Like Bianca is just kind of crazy out of nowhere. She didn't get provoked or prompted or anything. She just acted like that. But in reality, it seems like what's actually happening is that the OP and Millie are just doing whatever they want, regardless of whether it hurts Bianca, and then they're confused, like a surprised Pikachu, as to why Bianca wants nothing to do with them. So let me know how you interpret this situation since we have both halves here, and let me know jerk or not a jerk and why. Am I the jerk for wearing a bathing suit in a no bathing suits allowed spa on a work trip? This happened pre-COVID. I was a doctoral candidate and was sent with several of my colleagues as well as our professor to a conference which was important in our community. The conference was held in Germany and the participants occupied the entire hotel. Just so we're clear, there were no guests in this hotel who were not attending this conference. The hotel had a spa, and as is custom in Germany, the spa had a no bathing suits allowed policy, which was posted at the entrance. You couldn't miss it. The conference itself was hugely international and the key speakers were mostly Nobel laureates. On the second day of the conference, myself and some newly made friends decided to check out the spa. This being a work conference, I wore a bathing suit. It was strapless and I had a towel over it so it wasn't obvious, but many of the others who joined me, probably a little over 20 PhD students, were just straight up rocking the bathing suit. We had the whole hotel to ourselves, and who would go naked at a work meeting? Well, it turns out one of the female professors. When we walked into the area of the spa in which she was alone and totally nude, she flipped out on us. Several of us were actually her students, but the rest of us basically knew her from reputation alone. She was mortified and beyond pissed that we weren't exposed while she was. After she finished shrieking at us, she left and complained to all of our professors as well as the hotel staff. Nothing came of it, and I won't guess the reactions as I wasn't there to hear it. We ended up enjoying the next 4 days in the spa in our bathing suits, along with sometimes also bathing suit-clad professors and sometimes also their children. The professor who complained left the conference that day and did not return, which is why I think we may be the jerks. So, am I the jerk? So even though it seems like the vast majority of people using the sauna that were there for this conference were wearing bathing suits, some people have pointed out that the reason for the no bathing suit policy is for hygiene reasons. Someone said actually it is more hygienic. German sauna etiquette is rather strict. You never sit down without a towel under every part of your body that touches the benches. In a bathing suit, you have a wet print on the wood. Most German spas require no bathing suits, and in public saunas, you will get kicked out if you wear your bathing clothes in the sauna. If you feel bad about being without your bathing suit, you can always cover with a towel. I would freak out if people came in with clothes. Saunas are a no clothes safe space, and it is really rude to break this rule. And basically a lot of cultures have this rule, and in addition to it, you're supposed to shower yourself before you go into the sauna or spa area, depending on what it is. And the main reason, as other people pointed out, is because not everyone's swimsuits are clean, and they don't want to be sitting in the hot tubs with other people's old chlorine and pee from other pools. I can understand why the professor was really freaked out by this situation, but you kind of have to expect this to happen to some degree when you bring one entirely different culture into a country where they don't do something that is so normal in the place where everyone came from, wearing bathing suits in spas like this. So let me know how you see this, jerk or not a jerk, and why. Am I the jerk for posting a relative's private photos in the family group chat? I'm a 19-year-old female, and Kyle, who's 22, is a distant relative. Well, he's actually my stepdad's cousin's kid. I've never really been around him much though, just the odd family get-together. We hadn't seen each other for a while, but we did at a wedding a few months ago. He got sloshed and kept hitting on me, saying how hot I was and how he'd love to get to know me better. I rolled my eyes and kept trying to get away from him, but he kept following me around throughout the day. Later on, he said someone gave him my number and he kept on messaging me. I complained to my stepdad, who shrugged it off. Some people thought it was cute or funny, which just encouraged him to act more outrageous. A few days later, he started sending me private photos of the downstairs variety. What's worse was people who were at the wedding would tease me like it was some sort of grand joke. About a month or two later, I finally had enough and I sent everyone who had mocked me all of Kyle's private photos. Making fun of me and Kyle in the group chat, Kyle's private photo. My aunt who thought we'd make a cute couple, Kyle's private photo. His parents who had raised him to be a crappy person, Kyle's private photo, plus his private text. My stepdad even received a printed picture on his pillow. Amazing how many people I could find via group chats and various social media and others that I had phone numbers for. I've had a few family members telling me off, saying how gross it was sending them these private photos of Kyle and how I invaded his privacy, although the younger generation of cousins has taken to posting memes about him, such as when there's a family reunion and you can't decide decide which of your cousins to do, or edited versions of his pictures such as a small leaf covering his bits. I tried to block him, but he keeps creating fake accounts and contacting me on different areas of social media. I've already told him off for hitting on me, only to receive another private photo of him saying, "Bet if you had a taste, you would like it." I was just fed up with the mocking, the messages from people making fun of me and him hitting on me. It was tiring. I began to dread the phone message sounds to the point where I turned the phone off and went around for the day without it. I know it's extreme to send all of his private photos to everyone, but it shut them up about how we should go out and how maybe I should give Kyle a chance. Update from the future, yes, Kyle has stopped sending me his private photos. My cousins found out about it and started making fun of him. His stepbrother changed his ringtone to Sweet Home Alabama, and his morning alarm was changed to Sweet Home Alabama also. And they keep on saying, "What are you doing, stepbro?" just to annoy him. Kyle did have a rant in my voicemail saying that I had ruined him and how much of a B I was. So am I the jerk for posting Kyle's photos in the family group chat? So somehow the family doesn't seem to understand that the way that they were disturbed by them receiving the photos from the OP was exactly the same way that the OP was disturbed when she received the photos that she did not want from Kyle. It doesn't make either thing right, but it seems very hypocritical that they think one thing is wrong, them getting the photos, but it's not wrong for her to have to receive those photos when she doesn't want them. It's not like she was flirting back and forth with this guy. From the sounds of it, she very clearly told him, "I'm not interested, I don't want any part of this," but he kept pushing and ultimately sent these photos that she also did not want. As some people pointed out, it sounds like this guy has a problem taking no for an answer, and who knows where that'll lead, because that could, in theory, turn into a pretty dangerous situation where it's a losing situation for the OP no matter what her response is. And then she has to worry about how he's going to react when she doesn't even want anything to do with him in the first place. Even if nothing ever gets through to him, I would just hope that the family would be more understanding when she's clearly telling them that she doesn't want anything to do with this guy. But let me know how you would handle the situation if it was you, and jerk or not a jerk, and why. Am I the jerk for owning 3 dogs when my HOA says I can only have 2 dogs? My parents moved to a retirement neighborhood, so I moved into their neighborhood after my job required me to move to their state. We have 3 dogs, however 2 of them look almost the same, so we would never walk all 3 at once. It worked for 2 years. Well, my neighbor has been telling everyone we have 3 dogs and complaining about it on Nextdoor. The HOA asked to investigate. One of my dogs was at the vet, so I said, sure, go ahead. They walked through the house and the neighbor was outside. She later walked up to me, all smug, saying, "Did the HOA find your dog?" I said, no, they didn't. Mind your own business, B. Then she went out to Nextdoor to complain again, but the rest of the neighborhood is calling her crazy. So am I the jerk for owning 3 dogs? Living in a situation where you're going to constantly have to pretend that you only have 2 dogs when you have 3 sounds like it's going to be annoying after a while. It's already been 2 years, but that was before you had someone on your tail trying to expose you. Now that you've made an enemy out of this lady, she's probably going to be a lot more likely to keep investigating and try to report you to get rid of that 3rd dog. Not because she doesn't want the dog, but because she doesn't like you. So you should probably eventually move. Let me know if you guys think jerk or not a jerk, and why. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. To finish listening to all the stories in this series, use the playlist at the top of the description. And next time you live stream, use the cream of the crop music. Search for Cream of the Stream on Spotify or whatever music platform you use for copyright-free music to use for your stream. It's free, Cream of the Stream. Either way, thanks a lot for listening. I'll see you guys next time.